Bangladesh. Of its nearly 150,000 square kilometers of land surface, almost half of that is considered as a special marsh ecosystem known as wetlands. In fact, Bangladesh has been bestowed with the world's largest wetlands and deltas found within the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Meghna river systems. The wetlands of Bangladesh provide not only a wide range of important ecological, cultural, social, economic, agricultural, and commercial values to its people, but it also is the home for uncounted millions of plants and animals that are of substantial significance both locally and globally. The wetlands are so crucial to Bangladesh that it is regarded as the heart and arteries of Bangladesh's socio-economy. However, as Bangladesh develops and grows, the wetlands are disappearing at an alarming rate, largely because of inefficient land management practices and irresponsible bureaucrats who are ignoring newly enacted rules. Less than 40 years ago, at the time of Bangladesh's independence, there were several tens of thousands of square kilometers of pristine and undisturbed wetlands throughout the entire country. At that time, the country's population numbered only 75 million. However, with a population of close to 150 million, the vast majority of the country's wetlands have been drained and destroyed to make way for rice paddies, quick farming, along with industrial development and expansion. Recent studies have shown that well over 400 vertebrate species of fish and other animals inhabit these wetlands, including many species of globally threatened and endangered birds, as well as over 300 plant species. However, these numbers are dwindling fast as the habitat for plants and animals is continually being fragmented and destroyed. Habitat loss has been on the increase, and so the wetlands ecosystem in Bangladesh may well collapse completely for many endangered inhabitants, including many local varieties of fish, in a few more years if nothing is done to save them now. Fish and rice are the staple food of Bangladeshi people. Fish provides over 70% of the protein to the diet of the local villagers who live near the wetlands. However, the once flourishing Bangladeshi fishing industry is on the verge of disintegrating due to the destruction of the wetlands.
We have always lived with wildlife, like people always. A million years before, people lived with wildlife in the wilderness. And wildlife and people always have coexisted. Only in the modern society we have found that there is a conflict of interest, like people want the land that is used by wildlife. This is where we think that wildlife and human interest are in conflict. I think it is only the human greed or our desire to do too much for ourselves or too fast, develop too fast, that we want to take up all the land used by the wildlife.
There are heroic, noble, and valiant uphill struggles currently being conducted by some conservation groups, most notably the Wildlife Trust of Bangladesh, which is attempting to make efforts to help save and protect the Bangladesh wetlands, as well as wildlife in general in the area.
First of all, we wanted to have a stock taking of our wildlife and the wilderness area. We wanted to have a database for that, and we wanted to identify the threatened species in the country, and we wanted to protect all the threatened species by doing researches, by doing some applied activities, and then we want to save the wilderness, that is the habitats of the wildlife also.
Realistically, these conservation groups are fighting a losing battle. with none of these wetlands being officially designated as fully protected nature reserves, and hundreds of people still coming into these wetlands every day to destroy the delicate and fragile ecosystem. Even though there are some exceptional actions taken by a few government agencies and non-governmental organizations intent on protecting these wetlands, the government of Bangladesh has as yet been unable to stop the enormous and tragic loss of habitat to stem the dwindling biodiversity of Bangladesh's wetlands. At first glance, it would seem that the people of Bangladesh as a whole do not see their wetlands as a part of their national treasure, or as a national heritage, or as a source of national pride, or that they collectively did not care at all if these wetlands and the animals they housed went extinct or not. Or perhaps the people of Bangladesh have no idea of the situation facing their wetlands, and that maybe they'd be able to identify with the plight of their wetlands if they became aware of the situation. So, pioneering leaders in conservation such as Inayatullah Khan, Dr. Anwar, Inam ul Haq, and their team at the Wildlife Trust of Bangladesh, as well as Faridur Riza Shagor and Shahidul Alam of Channel I in Bangladesh, in conjunction with the noted biologist Dr. Elliott Haimoff and his documentary production company Global Science Productions, have decided to all join forces and produce a 1-hour high-definition TV documentary special on the plight of the wetlands of Bangladesh. This is one last-ditch effort to save the treasure of Bangladesh, its biodiversity, and its wetland habitats, and to educate the people of Bangladesh and the world community about the predicament of their wetlands before this habitat and all of the rare animals and plants would be lost forever. Otherwise, it will be too late, which it may already be, and the extinction of the fish species, birds, mammals, and other animals and plants that once thrived in the wetlands of Bangladesh will be a done deal. This will indeed be a true tragedy. It is even more deeply felt when considering how, after all, the Bangladeshi people fought so hard to gain their own independence that went hand in hand with their desire to control their own country's resources by themselves and for themselves.
Every time we have a crisis in the country, we fight together. And if our politicians, if our conservationists, if our social scientists could tell them that we have to fight to conserve our wildlife, wilderness, and the habitats, and the forests, and the wetlands, I'm sure that we'll be able to conserve our land, we'll be able to conserve our forests, we'll be conserve our wildlife, including the hula gibbons.